Good evening, everybody. Welcome in to the Big Man on Campus Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, the Big Man on Campus. Hopefully, everyone is finding this link. I had a little issue with the first one. Hope you're here and enjoying your day. A lot to get to today. We're going to get to it all. Greg Peterson going to join us in just a few minutes. Hopefully, everyone's enjoying their Thursday, April 4th, 2019. We got the NIT final tonight. We got the Final Four this weekend. This will be your headquarters for that over the next hour. Gives you some thoughts on baseball real quick. So we'll get into it here. As always, make sure you hit the like button. Say hello in the chat box. Just join us anytime there. We'll take some questions a little bit later as well. It should be a fun show. This will be a terrific breakdown of the Final Four. I guess I better get my headphones on because I'm going to need them when we get our guest on here. Before we do that, guys, I do want to let you know about our sponsor. We are powered by mybookie.ag. Look, if you're looking to add a book, looking to get going, or you want to make the conversion from a local to an online bookmaker, MyBookie is the place to do it. With lines for literally everything you can think of, whether it's horses, pinball, wrestling, basketball, or golf, MyBookie has you covered with up-to-the-minute lines. You want to bet on Blue Jays Indians tonight? Aaron Sanchez? You could do it at MyBookie. The NHL playoffs coming up. NBA, all sorts of stuff coming up. You didn't get in on the Valero, the golf this weekend? You can do it live at mybookie.ag. Use promo code BMOC now and get yourself a 50% deposit bonus. Again, use promo code BMOC. Get yourself a 50% deposit bonus at mybookie.ag. Make sure you check it out now for all your betting needs. Greg will join us in just a second here, guys. Make sure to hit the like button and retweet the show on Twitter, please. It's a great way to get it out there. Make sure you're retweeting the show on Twitter. Please do that. What we're going to do is we'll talk a little NIT final, and then we'll do both games, Virginia Auburn and Michigan State, Texas Tech. What's up, Anthony, James, Isaiah, T-Money, Isaiah, Dylan, Kevin, Marcos, Marco, Matt, welcome in. Thanks for watching today. I do appreciate it. Also, if you retweet the show, I will get you a nice little shout-out. Mike Book, Valley of Cards Collectibles, all you guys, Matt Sutton, Nick, Greg, all you guys, thanks for doing that today. Just waiting for our guest to join us here, and we will get going here on the show. Last night, the fucking Cubs let me down again. That bullpen is a fucking abortion right now. What a mess they are right now in Chicago, getting anyone out. Really hard to watch at this point. And that cost us a win last night. St. Louis did come in, which was nice, so I guess we'll take 1 out of 2. But the Cubs right now have major issues in their group. That simple. Let's bring in our guest. He's a friend of the show. We've had him on before. His name is Greg Peterson. He's from the college basketball overtime betting edition. I've been on it all year, and he's a great guy to Las Vegas. Greg, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you, Jeff?
This guy in a fucking suit. How about that, Greg? Dapper, looking like John Gotti. I love it. Greg, let's see that suit. What do you got, a blue tie on there? I love it.
We've got a black tie, we've got a blue undershirt, and we've got a gray suit.
How about that? Where are you headed, Greg? You're looking very dapper today. I like it.
We've got a remote at the D downtown in Las Vegas, so you know what? Got to look nice. Got to try to seal some deals, my friend.
How about that, Greg, at the D? I've been to the D. That's a pretty nice little casino there right on Fremont Street. Nice place. Greg, obviously, let's get into it here. We got the NIT. We got the Final Four. We got What do we got, Greg? 4 or 5 games left? Not much left. How do you deal with this, Greg? You're a big volume guy. What's been going on? How have you been dealing with that? That's the good thing about the Final Four. The Final Four is here, but then the bad thing is the season's over.
You know what? What I do is I sort of cry myself to sleep. I try to grab hold of everything humanly possible left in the college basketball season. But actually, as of right now, for one, I'm transitioning a little bit more into baseball. And this is where you really try to look forward to next season. Because what we notice with next season is that a lot of the players that are going to be these blue chip recruits, some of them have not really committed yet. You also have a lot of these power schools, you know, that they're going to be picking up some transfers and everything like that. But you have a good idea of what these littler schools are going to do. You're not going to see too much movement with teams like Youngstown State. You're not going to see too many teams like Canisius have quantum moves or anything like that. So what I try to do right now is I try to hone in on next season already and go from there, because the bets that we win in January, February, and March, they start in April, May, and June.
That's a terrific point, Greg. I've often talked about whether it's college basketball, college football, really any sport, particularly in the college ranks. I'm obviously looking to get a big kind of head on everything next year. I've already looked at – I was tweeting out today about some of the transfers that are in the immediate portal. You look at some of these guys, Greg, obviously keeping abreast of what's going on is important. I mean, you have some big-time names. You see today, obviously, Nate Sestina from Bucknell went to Kentucky. Keeping just a log of this stuff, it really can help you long-term. You look at a guy like Jake Forrester at Indiana. He's in the transfer portal. I've also heard talks that Temple University will look to move on Jake Forrester with Aaron McKee. So I think that's a great point. Definitely something to learn by, Greg. And if you're out there and you love college basketball, do yourself a favor. You know, obviously every day, look at these transfer portals, see where kids are going, see who's going to be where next year. Obviously follow the coaching moves. Who's a senior? That 3-on-3 tournament is good because at least you can do some personnel stuff, you know, remembering who's a senior. Some of these smaller schools, you don't realize that you're going to lose somebody. So you make sure you're understanding. That's great advice by Greg. Greg, let's get into some real quick before we do that, just to keep everyone abreast. Greg also mentioned recruiting. You have Cole Anthony, Jaden McDaniels, and Matthew Hunt, all top 10 recruits, have still not made their decision as to where they're going to go. So obviously making sure you're understanding where these big recruits are going as well. That's another great point by Greg. Let's get into the NIT final, Greg. We have Lipscomb University and Texas. What a great job by Casey Alexander, who, look, I got to tell you, Greg, I think he's a shoo-in at Belmont. I think that's going to happen. 16 years there as an assistant. You'd have to figure he's going to be on their list. The question of is, will he go higher than that? I want to get your opinion here on Lipscomb. Obviously, we've been on them all year. I'm sure you've been on them all year. This offense is pretty unbelievable. The things that they've been able to do. And you look at what Garrison Matthews has done. 78 points over the last 2 games, 13 for 28 from 3. This is a Texas team, Greg. If there is an issue, it is the 3-point defense. 244 in the country against the 3. No Jackson Hayes. He's preparing for the NBA. And I know people will point to and say, well, you know, Texas defensively have been terrific. But, Greg, let me see if you can answer this because you're a smart guy. Over the NIT, in the course of the NIT, what has been a common theme with the Lipscomb offense against teams? What has been the common theme that they've been able to do?
They've been able to get Garrison Matthews, and he's just been lighting the world on fire. He has been absolutely sensational. And this is a Lipscomb team that you mentioned it. They're very good on offense, but they're actually very balanced as well. They're number 32 in the country in both regards to offensive and defensive efficiency. So they do a very good job there. And then what you really have to like is you mentioned Jackson Hayes being out. Eli Pepper in their last game against Wichita State pulls in 15 rebounds. And here's another theme that we've noticed. Lipscomb gets the job done late. We saw it against NC State in that game against Wichita State. They go on a 21-3 run. They're able to win the game. Obviously against UNC Greensboro, they got things done early, the last couple minutes of the game, or really just essentially putting the air on the ball and just kneeling it out and just showing a little bit of mercy. But Lipscomb is a team that closes. Texas, I really have some questions as to their closing ability.
Yeah, also, I mean, you look at a lot of people will point to how good Texas has played defensively, and they have. I mean, I thought the other night was impressive. I will say, Greg, I thought the proverbial 1 foot was towards the beach with TCU. They looked disinterested in that game. Seemed like their coach was obviously had his eye on something else, and it looked like it. But you look at Lipscomb. I mean, been able to score against some good basketball teams in this tournament. Davidson's a great defense. UNC Greensboro is a good defense. North Carolina State's not a great defense, but they're better athletically. All these wins are impressive. You also look back, Greg, to the out-of-conference schedule this year. Beat SMU, beat TCU, beat Vermont. This is a team that can go and beat good basketball teams. We have to stop talking about – we know Lipscomb's a mid-major, but this is a team that can go and win games. They're that good. Texas is a team that is – this is a tough offense to prepare for if you're Texas. I'd really love getting 2 here, a full 2. I think I'll just – again, I think the athletic Texas will be a lot for Lipscomb to handle, but they've shown all year that they can take care of defenses like this. I'm going to rock with Lipscomb. I'm not in love with this play tonight, but I do like the Lipscomb Bison. Are you agreeing with that, Greg?
I'm agreeing with you. I actually took Lipscomb on the money line, took a little bit of a plus price there, mitigate a little bit of the juice. I think that Lipscomb should be able to win this game outright.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea. And in fact, I kind of agree with Greg a little bit there. If you can kind of avoid juice anytime, that's always a good thing. And if you're laying the points here, I mean, you're getting a point. You're just kind of hoping this doesn't fall on one and you lose. But I kind of second where he's going there. The 3-point defense is going to be an issue for Texas tonight. This Kenny Cooper, Garrison Matthews, all these guys can shoot the ball. Rob Marbury's played really well for them. Matt Rose as well off the bench. So this is a good basketball team. I think they're meant to be here. Greg, let's go into the Final Four. Obviously, 2 games here, a lot going on, and I'm interested in hearing your opinion here. We start out with Virginia and Auburn. Obviously, Auburn. Let me ask you, Greg. If I would have said to you, what are your odds on Auburn getting to the Final Four at the beginning of the tournament? What would you have said?
Not very good. I would have probably given you a number that was higher than 1%, but less than 6%. I would probably have went that low because I thought that Auburn had a good chance of being tripped up by New Mexico State, and they very nearly did. If New Mexico State doesn't go 1 for 3 at the free throw line in that game at the end, Auburn probably doesn't make it here, but that just shows how crazy the NCAA tournament is. You remember UConn in 2014. They probably should have been bounced in the first round by St. Joe's. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They had to come back from down like 7 points in less than a minute ago, rally to win that game, and then they get on a burner run. Auburn sort of reminds me a little bit of that with their 3-point shooting.
Yeah, you make a great point there. I mean, this is a team that's really just kind of found a way. You look at Auburn. I mean, I would agree. I'd put it at 10% that they'd make the Final Four. They were a good team all year, but they go through these issues where they couldn't score on the road and they had all sorts of problems. But look, the common thing with Virginia always is if you can get hot from 3, you're going to beat them. And look, if any team gets hot from 3, they're going to be able to beat a team. If we saw it last year, UMBC gets hot, you could beat anybody. If Tennessee State plays Tennessee, if they get hot from 3, they can beat them. It's that simple. But I think Virginia learned a lot, obviously, from the Carson Edwards show the other night. Obviously, that's something that with a week to prepare here, you have to feel like a good coach is going to find ways to limit what Texas or what Auburn's going to be able to do. Greg, I know you watched the game the other day. I thought Haggins played one of his worst games I've seen at Kentucky. Tyler Hero was constantly getting beat off the dribble. It was hard to watch. And you have to figure for Auburn, it's going to be a lot more difficult getting past that first line of defense that Virginia has with Jerome, with Guy. Those 2 are terrific defenders. And with the way they defend, I just think – you're gonna be hard pressed. Chumo Kiki would be a good kind of X factor in this game, but he's not going to be in the game. You also look at what we haven't been able to see from Virginia. This team hasn't really put together a great offensive performance yet. This team's shooting 30% from 3 in this tournament, and they're still in the Final Four. That's how potent this team can be. The 2 big factors for Virginia, one has been Diakite. His addition into the starting lineup has been key. He's been that good on defense, and he's been a real key cog down low. Jack Salt was too slow. You also look at the offensive rebounding that Virginia has been able to do. 48 offensive rebounds, Greg, in the first 4 games of this tournament. I think Guy obviously was big in that last game, and I think Keir Hunter is going to be a big time. That's another thing, Greg. Hunter's not done much in this tournament either, and they're still in the Final Four. I think we finally see a full game from them. We know it's going to come defensively as well. I just don't think Brown and Harper are going to be as dynamic or even near dynamic as they were. This is where Auburn's reign ends. I'll lay the points with Virginia. What do you like here?
I laid the points with Virginia as well, and I think it's very telling that this total is so low because what the bookmakers are saying is that Virginia is going to be able to get their tempo. And do you think that Auburn's going to be able to win if Virginia is getting its tempo? I just don't think so. I think that this plays right into the hands of Virginia because what they have is a point guard in Ty Jerome that has an assist-to-turnover ratio that's north of 3. Does a great job of being able to take care of the ball. Auburn, number 1 team in the country in regards to being able to get steals per possession on defense. But I think that Virginia is smarter than that. I think that they're going to do a very good job of being able to protect the ball. You mentioned Okiki being out. I think that that's absolutely huge. I think that it is going to allow Virginia with Selt and Diakite being able to pull in those rebounds. And I think that the big X factor in this game for Virginia is the fact that you've got so many guys that can shoot the 3. Even if Kyle Guy is out, you have DeAndre Hunter that you can rely upon. You've got Ty Jerome who you can rely upon. Now you've got 3 3-point shooters that are all shooting over 40%. And what so many people forget from last year is that DeAndre Hunter was out of that game against UMBC when they lost. So I do think that Virginia has all the pieces to be able to win this game and make it the national championship.
Yeah, I think when you go to Virginia, obviously if you listen to Tony Bennett, you listen to this group talk, I mean, it's like Texas Tech. They bring in kids that can defend. If you don't defend, you're not going to play at Auburn or at Virginia or Texas Tech. And look, I've been impressed with what I've seen out of this kid Clark, a real water bug for them. Braxton Key's not played as much, but I think you might throw him in. And look, as I said, Hunter's not looked good in this tournament offensively. I think his draft stock has went down a bit, but this is a great spot to fix that. We have a little time to rest now if you're these kids. I think with time to prepare and this defense, I think Auburn's going to have major trouble. This is a real tough spot. And we again throw back to Auburn in this tournament, Greg. You look at who they faced defensively. Kansas, New Mexico State, North Carolina, and Kentucky. Good defensively, none are great. This is going to be a tough matchup. That first line of defense is not going to be as easy to just blow by. I mean, you saw Greg Tyler Hero. He just kept getting blown by. I don't know what was going on with him. Also, I'm just not a big fan of this kind of quartet around Harper and Brown. I'm just not confident that Dunbar or Dowdy or any of those guys can give them anything of meaning. And look, I don't think down low, Virginia's going to have some real success in the back end of this defense with Salt and with Diakite. Other than Austin Wiley, there's just not a lot of contribution. So we both agree, Greg and I both on Virginia minus the 5.5. Which is interesting. Bettors love Auburn here. 70% of the tickets and money on the Tigers, and this line has moved to 5.5. So interesting there, Greg. The other game, and then we'll get you out of here. Obviously, I know you have some things going on. Greg, over at the D, it's a pretty small casino. Are you betting over there? What do you got going on? Meetings? Can you let us know what you got going on?
We're actually going to be doing our podcast live there tonight. It's going to be myself, Steve Heitner, and Rich Johnson. We're going to be doing our podcast there, likely laying down a couple bets. We're going to try to talk to Mike Palm and Derek Stevens as well, 2 very good guys over there. And Mike Palm, if you haven't been following his hockey plays and all the plays that he's been posting out, has been doing a terrific job. I've had him a couple times on the podcast. Just a tremendous guy in general. So really looking forward to being over there and being able to do a couple podcasts.
Very good, Greg. If you're in the so it'll be open to, obviously it's open to the public. Right. If you're in Vegas, go see Greg tonight at the D on Fremont Street, right next to the Golden Nugget, and across from Binion's, the old Binion's. Go see Greg Peterson. Very good. Greg, one more game here, and then we'll wrap it up. 8:49 Eastern, approximately. You got the Michigan State Spartans and the Texas Tech Aggies. Or not Aggies, Red Raiders. What am I? I'm thinking of A&M. Texas Tech Red Raiders, 131 on a total. Greg, before we get into the breakdown, I think it has to be mentioned, what an absolutely phenomenal job by both these coaches. You look at Michigan State, you lose Langford, you lose Aarons, you lose Miles Bridges last year. You look at Jaren Jackson as well, moved on. You come back this year, Nick Ward was out for a period of time. You look at Texas Tech, you lose a guy like Zaire Smith. This team is just, I mean, defensively, Greg, we could argue this is the best defense I've ever seen at this level, which I didn't know if we could ever find a defense as good as Virginia's last year. I mean, Texas Tech, both these coaches have done just unbelievable jobs. You look at the keys for both teams. Michigan State, we all know what they're all about. Offensively, they're terrific. The ball movement is about as good as it gets. Cassius Winston, I think maybe, Greg, other than Carson Edwards, he's the best guard in the country. He was absolutely terrific all season. I think we're starting to see, from a standpoint of the entire team, Michigan State looks terrific right now. Goins, McQuaid, Tillman, Henry, everyone just looks so fluid right now. The ball movement has been very crisp. And I worry about Texas Tech in this game for one thing. Obviously, their defense is going to be great. We know it's going to be. But with ball movement, with crisp screens and sharp movement, I think they'll be able to find ways to score. But I worry about Culver in this game. I think Culver's going to have a tough time of it. We're going to have to really see what Culver is as a player. This is a big stage, a big spot. They're not going to be able to out-rebound Michigan State. It's just that simple. And if they allow Michigan State to do what Gonzaga did, it could be a long night. Culver will get guarded by McQuaid, who I think might be one of the better defenders in the country. And if not him, then Henry. I think for the only way Texas Tech can win this game, Greg, is if they get hot from three. I think Mooney and Moretti are going to have to be terrific again. And I worry about Odeasi. Outside of Odeasi, and Owens, there's just not a lot of depth on this team. Francis is a good offensive player, but he's really lax on the defensive end. I just think there's too many question marks for this matchup from Texas Tech. I love the way State's playing right now. I had him against Duke. And I got to tell you, Greg, as I've looked more and more deeper into this matchup, I'm on the Spartans at 2.5.
I took the Spartans at 2.5 as well. I was able to get the minus 105 juice that the South Point always runs during the NCAA tournament, and I jumped all aboard that. I love what I'm seeing out of Michigan State. You mentioned the rebound battle. Texas Tech is outside the top 100 in regards to rebound rate. Michigan State, number 7 in the country in regards to rebound rate. And Texas Tech plays sensational defense. One of the best defenses that you're going to see at this level. But one thing that Michigan State does is that they move the ball so crisp. You were mentioning that. How about number 1 in the country in regards to assists per possession for Michigan State? They do a great job of being able to pass the rock. And it's not just Cassius Winston, who I argue might be one of the best passing point guards I've seen at this level this decade. But it's a whole bunch of other guys as well. Nick Ward, for a big man, does a good job of being able to pass it. Kenny Goins has the versatility. He was able to hit that 3 against Duke that led him to this point. Matt McQuaid does a little bit of everything at the guard spot as well. I think that this is just a little bit too much ball movement. I don't know if Texas Tech is going to be able to quite keep up with it. I do think that Texas Tech is going to hit a couple threes. Davide Moretti shooting right around 46% from distance. He got like what he does. But the worst three-point shooter, really, when you take a look at the starting lineup, is Jared Culver. And Texas Tech just relies a little bit too much on Jared Culver for their offense. And I think that's going to be the bugaboo.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. I think McQuaid has turned into, he is an elite defender. And he showed that he has some hops as well. I'm not as interested in this game as the other. I love both these teams. I think Texas Tech, I love Beard. I love everything this group does. I just think this is kind of a tough matchup because for as good as Michigan State, Greg, is defensively, or Texas Tech is defensively, Michigan State's pretty damn good themselves on defense. You just got to hope that, turnovers could be the issue for any team. But I just like the way Michigan State's playing right now. I love the ability of kind of their, the rest of their team. I don't love Texas Tech outside of the starting 5. I'm just not really sure what Kyler Edwards or Deshaun Corprew can give you. Greg, we agree on both these. We're laying the points in each. Let me ask you, when the Nets are cutting down, who's cutting them down, Greg?
I still think that Virginia is the best team in the country. I think that we're going to have a Virginia versus Michigan State national championship. I think that is going to be just such a fascinating matchup because we mentioned how great Cassius Winston is as a point guard. But then you take a look at the other side for Virginia and all that they've got going on. I just think that they're going to get on track with guys like Kyle Guy and company being able to shoot those threes. I think that they just have a little bit too much. And I think that the emergence of Diakite in the starting lineup really is the X factor for Virginia. Without Diakite being able to emerge the way that he did, I would probably lean towards Michigan State, but I'm taking a look at lines at the Westgate on this. They would have it at Virginia laying a point, and I think that that's a very fair line because this is essentially a toss-up when you get these two teams.
Good stuff, Greg. Before we let you go, this is probably our last show with you as far as talking college hoops. If you let's say you're Greg, are you a big NBA guy? Do you follow it at all, or?
I follow the NBA. I'm not much of an NBA bettor myself. I like to do a little bit more baseball after my college basketball, but I certainly keep up.
Let me ask you, if you were the Phoenix Suns, and obviously you're building your team around Devin Booker, who is good as it gets, but look, unfortunately, there's just not a lot of talent outside of Devin Booker. Your point guard is Tyler Johnson. I mean, not a lot to write home about there. Who would you take in the NBA draft? Because to me, John Morant seems like a pretty good fit at one. But do you agree that, are you taking Zion regardless? What's your thought there?
I know that the point guard spot really is shaky for the Suns, but I just think that Zion Williamson is something that we haven't seen in a long time. So many people are talking about the bust potential of him, and obviously that is there because obviously he's going to be going up against people that he can't dominate the way that he did in obviously high school and in college, but I would still go with Zion Williamson with the #1 overall pick because he has shown some versatility in his time at Duke, and he does a pretty good job on defense as well with being able to block shots. So I think that his game translates to the NBA. And the one problem that I have with John Morant, he is absolutely sensational, but even at a lower level, he was still having like 5 turnovers per game. That is my one issue with John Morant.
Yeah, and I think his developing an ability to constantly knock down a three-point shot, that would be my one issue with him, as well as the turnovers. But I'm going to say it, and I'll say it again. I think at worst he's De'Aaron Fox. I think at high he could be Russell Westbrook. I think he's that good.
He reminds me of Russell Westbrook as well. I am right there with you.
Yeah. But again, Greg, I mean, it's all about work ethic in the NBA. The kid seems like a terrific kid. He's going to work hard, so we'll see. But, Greg, before we let you go, small card tonight in baseball. I talked before you got on the air about just the complete disaster of the Cubs bullpen. Last 2 nights I backed these pricks, and the bullpen's blown it both times. Do you have anything on the baseball card you have your eye on or you really like?
I was on the Cubs yesterday, and ironically on this game, with Yu Darvish and Max Fried as your starting pitchers, and both these bullpens, how do you even take a look at the under? This is one where I just took it over. I said, you know what? If I lose, I lose. But yeah, this is one where you've got to take a look at the over. And then I think the Reds versus the Pirates game is pretty interesting. You've got Molly going on the mound against Jordan Lyles. I wound up taking the Pittsburgh Pirates here. It's a pretty even line right now. I've been seeing a little bit of movement with regards to the line so far today. Right now, from what I'm seeing, Pittsburgh laying right around -110, -115, depending on where you go. I just have not been bullish on the Reds' bats. They haven't gotten anything going right now. The middle of the lineup, you've got Eugenio Suarez and you've got Joey Votto, but everyone outside of, I would say, the middle 3, just not producing. And keep in mind, Scooter Gennett's still the lineup.
Yeah, you mentioned the Cubs and that over. I mean, Cubs, 6.4 runs a game, hitting .330 as a team. They also have the second worst team ERA in baseball with a bad bullpen. I don't hate where you're going there, Greg. You look at the Atlanta Braves, 9th in the major leagues in batting average so far. So you'd have to expect some runs in this game. Only concern with Lyles, he's not been good in his career at PNC, but as you said, this hasn't been a potent or particularly great lineup from the Reds. So great stuff, Greg. Looking forward to probably chat with you at some point about baseball. Maybe we'll get you on around the NBA draft. I know you're very good with personnel, and we'll do some things. Good luck at the D tonight, and have fun, buddy. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
See you, Greg. Greg Peterson joining us from Las Vegas, Nevada. If you're in the area, go check out Greg tonight at the D on Fremont Street as he does his show That's Gold with Steve Heitner. And I'm sure plenty of other great people will be there as well, along with Greg, Derek Stevens, the owner, and everybody else. So make sure you go check out Greg at the D tonight. very nice suit from Greg. It looked like the John Gotti. I was liking it. All right, guys, that's it. There you have it. We'll be on for a little bit here, maybe 10 minutes or so. I do want to go over some things with the draft. Obviously, I'm chomping at the bit, not only for the NFL draft, but the NBA. I'm kind of smack dab in the middle of the NFL draft, which I don't want to start talking about just yet, but I do want to let everybody know I'm going to have some stuff next week for the NFL draft. We'll go over some risers, some guys that are falling. I got a friend of mine that I'm going to contact, and we're going to do some good things on that. Really, I want to kind of let everyone know about what this channel is going to be going forward. We're going to have this show every day at 5 o'clock going over baseball and stuff like that, but I'm really going to start adding different content. I'm going to have a golf preview every week with a handicapper, a friend of mine that's really good in golf. I enjoy golf. I enjoy watching it now, but I'm not a big I don't know a ton about it, but I'm going to bring someone on that can kind of educate people. We can work out some plays. I've actually done quite well betting on golf, really just with limited knowledge. I grabbed Kevin Kisner last week with in the match play. I had Molinari last year in the British Open. And we're going to have some good golf coverage next week for the Masters, so look out for that. Also, and I'm going to announce this pretty soon, we got a friend of the show is going to be on here, Ski Profit. He's going to be joining us to do some NBA stuff. I've talked before about Ski Profit. I've been in his corner for a while. I think he's one of the really talented NBA guys out there. I'm going to get him on starting pretty soon to talk some NBA playoffs. So we're going to have all sorts of stuff. Soccer stuff will continue. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. We'll get Greg on every week to do some baseball, and we're just going to keep everything and all the content rolling. So make sure you join us for that. We'll get some golf and stuff next week and do some baseball also. So make sure you're subscribing so you don't miss anything. If you have any questions on anything, feel free to send them in. Any betting questions, any NBA draft, anything you want to talk about, I'm glad to hear it. You should try to reach out to Loshak. I've talked to Loshak at length. Him and I have talked for a few hours recently. I'm working on getting Peter on. It's not any issue with me. I want to have him on. He's just, he's dealing with some things in his personal life, and we're going to get him back hopefully very soon. We'll have Peter on real soon. We'll do some baseball stuff with him and try to get him back here. So, yeah, definitely look out for that stuff as well. On top of it. Baseball tonight. Don't really have much. I mean, I think Greg made some good points with that Cubs over. I actually grabbed the Nationals today, a little play. My premium plays are getting going on Monday. I'll have my email list. If you're interested in joining the email list, get in touch with me at bmocsports@gmail.com. bmocsports@gmail.com. We'll get you on the list. It's not a ton of money. It's very fair. Again, I do a lot of work. And again, we're going to have a lot of dogs, a lot of plus money prices. So if you're interested in getting on board, you can find me on email, bmocsports@gmail.com, bmocsports@gmail.com, which I will put in the box. Also, we will have MLS going pretty soon. I usually get involved with MLS around June, and we'll get into all that stuff. So, anything you guys want, we'll put out. Just need to obviously, again, supporting these channels are important. You're supporting the channel, going to my bookie and going and getting an account with those guys and supporting the sponsors. All that stuff is very imperative to keeping a show going. Liking the shows, retweeting the shows. I can't sit here and do this for free. We have to have some, to put money back into this stuff. Sometimes I'm paying guests to come on to do stuff. Guys that are obviously doing, some things that are a bit higher than others. I'm going to have, kind of cool interviews and stuff. So, anything you can do to do that, that'd be great. We discussed Lipscomb earlier. You can just go ahead and rewind back. That was the first game we talked about All right, guys. Well, again, if there are no questions, we will wrap it up. No need to hang on. We've been on for about 38 minutes. I'll kind of hang on for 5 more minutes here. Just go over 1 or 2 things here. Feel free to step in if you have any questions. What did I want to bring up? There was something that I want to bring up that I'm feeling like, the AAF. Look, I mean, I've heard some pretty pathetic things today about this AAF. What a disgusting league. And it's really a shame that they were this inept to get this league started and just rushing into it. I saw some stuff on Twitter that was pretty pathetic, really. I mean, some of the ways they handled this. You look at a guy like this tweet. Adrian Robinson, who played in the AAF, he tweeted at AAF, "I woke up to over $2,500 charge pending on my account from the Sonesta Hotel our team played in. I called the bank and Memphis team president. My only option is dispute the charges. The same thing happened to other players on our team." What is this fucking mess that you're running here? What is this? Johnny Paul. I play a game, break my arm, league ends within 24 to 48 hours. Now I'm looking for an apartment and now need help finding an apartment. And I have to pay for all my medical bills and rehab costs. I mean, this place is going to get sued out the fucking ass. Anthony Manzo Lewis, kicked out of our hotel rooms and weren't paid. 17 hours away from home with a car full of belongings and nowhere to go. I mean, Christ, what a fucking mess. Termination letters sent out, with no letterhead. Brandon Silvers, come over, brother. Still got the Airbnb for a few days. I got you, unlike the American Alliance Football League. He's saying that to Manzo Lewis. What a fucking mess. Team-level staff members were asked to stay behind in markets to clean out office spaces without pay and handle refunds. Who's getting fucking refunds here? Rehab and injured players will be left out in the cold. They'll be paying for their own rehab and medical expenses. High-level staff at the team level received emails from the board in question marks. No one received a termination notice from an actual person. Players at Memphis came back to their hotel rooms after news come down that they had their personal items waiting in the lobby and they were kicked out of their hotel. San Antonio vendors and venues are owed $4 million for a training camp. What a fucking mess this league is. Christ. Very sad. Where do I think Rick Pitino ends up? I don't think he ends up anywhere in this country or NBA futures coming anytime soon. I don't really have any at this point. Maybe we'll look into that next week. You pass on Hap and Grant Williams, really like P.J. Washington. I like P.J. Washington myself. I think he's a guy that's slowly rising. I see him almost towards the early mid-20s. I could see Philadelphia, Utah, Portland, around that area. Grant Williams, I'd have early second round. That's kind of where I'd put him. Ethan Happ. Look, I don't know. I'm questioning on if he's an NBA player. I don't think he's physical enough. I just don't. I think he's way too slow. And to me, I don't know if I see it. Kind of like Mike Dom. I think, they both have weaknesses. I mean, Hap is a terrible free throw shooter. He's just not physical enough. I don't see it. Maybe he's, I think he'd be a decent, player overseas, but I don't see him in the NBA. I don't think he's big enough, to be honest, either. I think he's like 235. Decent NBA or decent college a rebounder, but I don't necessarily see it. Dom might be a little bit more equipped, but yeah, Hap would be not in my 60. No way. Dom, I think he's a bit more fruitful just because I think his ability to shoot the ball is there, but I don't know. I'm not running to the window. I think defensively he has questions, but I'm sure he'll find a way. Whether it's on a summer league team or something like that. What else do we have here? Do you think Matthews can play at the next level from Lipscomb? Sure I do. I definitely do. I think he's a guy that he's a scorer. He's a pure scorer. I don't know where I'd put him now. I think I think he's shown that he can score against good competition, and I think the fact that he can score is obviously a huge thing. I look a little bit more into him at the next level. I haven't really thought about it yet. I don't really get into the full draft until the end of the season, but I feel like if a kid like Grayson Allen can get into the NBA, or players like that, kind of those long, lanky players. I mean, he's not really a long and lanky player, Grayson Allen, but yeah, I mean, like I think Matt Morgan will go to the NBA from Cornell, so I don't see any reason that Garrison Matthews doesn't. I could see it, sure. Is it true that the AAF League was just generated to get the second season so they could implement online gambling? I'm not sure. I don't know about that. Either way, just an absolute complete mess. You got to feel bad for these people. The NFL also just sent a memo to its 32 clubs not to engage in talks with any AAF players after the alliance suspended operation to avoid litigation for contacting players. In reaction, the AAF sent out this tweet. Effective immediately, all AAF players are authorized to sign with NFL clubs. I mean, I don't know, man. Where can you find my soccer insight? I'll have my soccer shot tomorrow. It'll be out. We'll look at Premier League, Championship, League One, and League Two. That can always be found on this channel. So make sure you subscribe. Other than that, you guys are on your own. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us. I do appreciate it. Tonight we'll take a shot with the Lipscomb Bison on the money line. Again, I have a premium play on this card tonight, but it is on another game, and it is involving something else. So, again, we'll look to cash that, keep our unbelievable tournament record going. All of you have a great day. Thanks for watching. I will be on with Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart at 6:09 Eastern. So if you want to join us, you can. I'd love to see you on there. Give those guys a listen. You can find that at Fantasy Radio on YouTube, really anywhere that you can get that stuff. So I'll be joining those guys around 6:09. Everyone have a great day. Thanks to Greg Peterson for coming on and sharing his Final Four info. This is the only Final Four show. So if you missed anything, you can watch it anytime. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you later.